Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 26th chapter. Blessed is the man that hath a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double. You're going to live longer. You have a virtuous wife. A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband. She makes him glad. She brings joy to him. And he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. Right? You're going to live a peaceful life because you have a virtuous woman. A good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Lord. See? So the Lord brings, he'll give you a good woman. If you please the Lord, then he will give you a woman that pleases you. Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart toward the Lord, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance. So whether you're dirt broke or you're super rich, if your mind is set towards the Lord, you're going to rejoice. He's going to have you, happy, right? And the scriptures say that the joy of the countenance, right? The countenance, your face, the cheerfulness of the countenance shows forth the joy of the mind. There be three things that my heart feareth, and the fourth I was sore afraid: the slander of a city, and the gathering of an unruly multitude, and a false accusation. All these are worse than death. I read in this in the GNTD says there are four things that scare me: vicious rumors spreading around town, a gathering mob, false accusations. These are all worse than death. But a grief of the heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of the tongue which communicateth with all. In the GNTD it says, but a woman jealous of another woman causes heartache and grief. Her tongue lashes out at everyone. Go and watch them videos. Videos they call it to catch a cheater or something like that. Just put videos of women catching their men cheating. Put it that way. And you'll see an example of a woman that's jealous over another woman. And you'll see that scourge of her tongue before she gets physical with him. But anyway, an evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. Now, really imagine that. Really imagine that. I'm gonna let's put this here. Yoke. Take a look at a yoke. Okay, and let's put in here a yoke of iron. So imagine this. Okay, slow that back up. A yoke of iron, something like this. Imagine that, right? Shackled around your neck. And it says here that a wicked wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. So you got this on your neck and you're just being shook, to the pull to the left, pull to the right, pull to the left, shook, shake, 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 So that's what it's like. Imagine that. Oh my gosh, these analogies, these comparisons are very, very telling, man. He that has sold or he that hath hold of her is as though he held a scorpion. That's how dangerous it is to deal with an evil wife. It's like grabbing a scorpion. What's going to happen? Eventually, you're going to get stung and it's going to hurt. A drunken woman and a gatter abroad causeth great anger, and she will not cover her own shame, right? A drunken woman and a gatter abroad is a woman, like the women that like to go out, get drunk, always outside. It causeth great anger, and she will not cover her own shame, right? She's not embarrassed of her shameful behavior. In the GNTD, it says a drunken woman is an infuriating sight. She can't conceal her shameless behavior. The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. You can tell. You can see a certain woman, and just the way that she looks at, you know what? She knows how to do it. Right? That seductive look. The chances of you meeting a virgin, a woman that's never been exposed, to such haughtiness, okay, or whoredom, and she's giving you that kind of look, nah, Okay, there's certain women, they just know exactly what they know exactly what they're doing. They'll look at you with it and then ask you, "What do you mean?" You're telling them about that look, and they're playing dumb, like they don't know what you're talking about, while doing it all the more. Yeah, so you can see it in their face, in their eyelids, and how they move their eyes, how they look down. They put their head down, they slowly look up at you, they do a little lip bite and all that. I don't need to go into further details. You know what I'm talking about. If thy daughter be shameless, and you know what? You know what I'm talking about, because majority of women today are whores. So you're going to see that look a lot more. You don't need to look far. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly. So if you know your daughter is shameless, right? She's one of those. You got to make sure that you keep her in straitly. That don't give her any freedom, no liberty. Why? Lest she abuse herself through over much liberty. You give her too much freedom, she's gonna abuse herself. Okay, without proper judgment. And now she brought shame over to the house, and there's a problem. Watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee. All right, it says here in the GNTD, if she is too self-willed, be on guard, and don't be surprised if she disappoints you. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler, and when she hath found when he hath found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every hedge will she sit down and open her quiver against every arrow. This is not talking about her becoming Hawkeye, and shooting bows and arrows from a bow. No, this is a metaphor for her playing the harlot, open up her legs, okay, and having intercourse with everybody, that desires her. That's a whore. GNTD says she'll spread her legs anywhere for any man who wants her, just as a thirsty traveler will drink wherever water is available. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. See, so the grace of a wife, her graceful nature, right, and how and what she does, and taking care of him, and actually being an helpmeet, that delights her husband. Delightful, really delightful. And her discretion will fatten his bones, right? Her discretion, her ability, to know when to say what, how to dress, what to do. Okay, fattening your bones, meaning like it strengthens you. As we read up above, that a man's days will be doubled. He'll live out his life in joy if he has a virtuous woman. A silent and loving keyword, a silent, can't miss that one. A silent and loving woman. All these women want to be women of the Lord, and yet they miss that. They want to be virtuous women, and then they miss that part about being silent. Right? A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord. And there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. A woman whose mind is well instructed to serve you, to love you, to be and help me to you, to please you. I mean, hey, that's up there when it comes to blessings. A shamefaced and faithful woman. Now, it's interesting because women always talk about how, they want how to get a man, right? You want a man, how do you get a man? How do you do what you got to do? But, the scriptures tell you exactly what you got to do. The men themselves tell you what they want. Men in their right mind will tell you exactly what we want. But the problem with, a lot of modernized women is that they say, hey, tell us what you want us to do, what do you want from us as women, right? What do you want from women? And then you tell them what you want from women, and they completely ignore it, and then wonder why they're not getting with a man. Wow. Absolutely amazing. So it says, a shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace. She's shamefaced and she's faithful. You don't have to worry. You don't have to stress about, is she being unfaithful? Is she entertaining other guys? Like, no. And she's shamefaced. She's humble. Let's look at that word. Shamefaced. Feeling or expressing shame or embarrassment. What this means is, it's not like she's walking around ashamed, but she's not out there bold and brazen. She's covered. She's like, shamefaced is like, it's better shown than explained, right? It's easier to see it. Okay, apologetic. You know, you'll know a shamefaced woman when you see her. And typically it's one of those women that's been raised up properly in the household, you know, not here in Babylon. You know, some of those countries, right? Foreign countries in the East, you'll see the women, they're polite. You know, they don't speak out against, you know, they're humble because they're raised properly. It says, and her continent mind cannot be valued. That continent is you know, controlled, self-controlled. It cannot be valued. That's a woman that's priced above rubies. It says, as the sun, when it ariseth in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. Let's read that in the GNTD. The beauty of a good woman or a good wife in her well-kept home is like the noonday sun shining in the Lord's sky. So see, the scriptures do speak well of women, but when they're good. As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, so is the beauty of the face in ripe age. It says here, her beautiful face and attractive figure are as lovely as the light from the sacred lampstand in the temple. Verse 18, as the golden pillars are upon the sockets of silver, so are the fair feet with a constant heart. That's describing like the basically comparing her beauty to the beauty of the temple. My son, keep the flower of thine age sound, and give not thy strength to strangers. Keeping the flower of your age sound is, you know, keeping yourself sound and good and healthy and in the right path in your youth. That's your flower of your age. And give not thy strength to strangers, right? Don't give your power over to strangers, lest they take advantage of you and reduce you to nothing. When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession through all the field, sow it with thine own seed. Now this is talking about, it's not, this is in reference to a woman. Okay, the woman is the fruitful possession. Okay, that's basically when you get a wife, you get a good wife through all the field, right? The field being the world. If you get a good wife, sow it with thine own seed. Okay, marry her and have children. That's your seed. You know, you plant your seed in her through the act of sex, and trusting in the goodness of thy stock. Okay, and that trusting in the goodness of your stock, you have confidence, right? Have confidence that your lineage is good, it's honorable, it's stable. So thy race shall thou leave, or which thou leavest shall be magnified, having confidence of their good descent. So clearly it's not talking about plants now, is it? And what that means, right, is basically your descendants, you know, your race, they're going to be strong, right? They're going to be firm. Your children are going to have confidence in their heritage because they were planted of a righteous man. Okay, one who kept himself in the flower of his age, sound. Verse 22, an harlot shall be counted as spittle, i.e. worthless, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband. And that's you know, metaphorical speech, but it's basically describing the benefit, right, of a married woman to her husband. She brings, you know, she brings that a defense against death, right, by taking good care of her husband and prolonging his days. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Lord. See, so you have some people that struggle with women, you know, have terrible women problems, dealing with, like, I mean, some severe wicked women. Guess what? The Lord brought that as a portion, you know, for said individual. But the Lord gives a godly woman to those that fear him, because it's a blessing, or she is a blessing. A dishonest woman contemneth shame, but an honest woman will reverence her husband. All right, and in other words, in the GNTD, a shameless wife enjoys making a disgrace of herself, but a modest wife will act modestly even alone with her husband. See that? And that is a woman to be desired. Verse 25, a shameless woman shall be counted as a dog. All right, what is that modern day term? Let's actually look up here. What is the official meaning of a bitch? Wow, look at that. Bitch refers primarily to a female dog or canine. As a vulgar, offensive term, it describes a mean, malicious, or overbearing person. It is it is also used as slang for a complaint slash complaining, a difficult situation. Karma's a bitch, karma's a bee, or a person in subservient role. That's my B, right? So here it says mean, malicious, and overbearing person. So a shameless woman is going to be counted as a female dog, all right, or a mean, malicious, overbearing person. You know, she contemplative shame. Remember? And it's interesting how people can act like a bee, okay, but a beach. They can act like a beach, but get mad when you call them one. But if you really understand the definition of it, if you act like a mean, you know, and malicious and overbearing person, then your actions are offensive. So why is it so offensive to be labeled by the definition of your actions? When somebody is bold, you call them courageous and bold, right? Somebody's kind, you call them benevolent. But when somebody's offensive and malicious, you can't call them a bitch. Okay. Well, let's keep on going then. Where we at with it? It says, but she that is shamefaced will fear the Lord. A woman that honoreth her husband shall be judged wise of all, but she that dishonoreth him in her pride shall be counted ungodly of all. And nobody's going to want to deal with her. A loud crying woman and a scold shall be sought out to drive away the enemies. Looking at that in the GNTD, it says a loud-mouthed, talkative woman is like a trumpet sounding the signal for attack. And any man who has such a wife will spend his life at war. Man. Verse 28, there be two things that grieve my heart, and the third maketh me angry. A man of war that suffereth poverty, that's like your veterans, you know, that suffer poverty, suffer at the, because here it is, they should be taken care of for fighting for their nation. And men of understanding that are not set by. See that? And we're likened unto men of understanding, you know, that you just ignore. The world ignores the men of understanding, right? Because of status. It says, and one that returneth from righteousness to sin. Right? It's a grieving thing to behold. The Lord prepareth such an one for the sword. Yeah, when the Lord takes somebody from righteousness to sin, he's preparing you for destruction. A merchant shall hardly keep himself from doing wrong, and an huckster shall not be freed from sin. Okay, reading that in the NLT, it says, I mean the GNTD, a merchant can hardly avoid doing wrong. Every salesman is guilty of sin. And that brings us to the end of the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 26th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rechak Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.